Chair Finlev, we are ready to begin.
Thank you. Would you mind just say one more thing? The audio came through a little weird.
Chair Finlev, we are ready to begin.
I can hear you, but it's a little muffled, but I think we're good. Welcome to the February 7th, 2025 regular meeting of the San Francisco Ethics Commission. Today's meeting is live cablecast on SFGov TV and live streamed online at sfgovtv.org/ethicslive. For public comment, members of the public may attend in person or may participate by phone or the WebEx platform, as explained in our agenda document. Mr. Clerk, would you please explain how remote public comment will be handled?
Public comment will be available on each item on this agenda. Each member of the public will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. For those attending in person, opportunities to speak during the public comment period will be made available here in room 408, City Hall. For those attending remotely, public comment period can also be provided via phone by calling 1-415-655-0001. Access code is 2661-289-2579, followed by the pound sign, and then press pound again to join as an attendee. When your item of interest comes up, please press *3 to raise your hand to be added to the public comment line. Public comment is also available via the WebEx client application. Use the WebEx link on the agenda to connect and press the raise hand button to be added to the public comment line. For detailed instructions about how to interact with the telephone system or WebEx client, please refer to the public comment section of the agenda document for this meeting. Public comment may also be submitted in writing and will be shared with the Commission after this meeting has concluded and will be included as part of the official meeting file. Written comments should be sent to ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Members of the public who attend Commission meetings, including remote attendance, are also expected to behave responsibly and respectfully. During the public comment, please address your comments to the Commission as a whole and not to individual members. Persons who engage in name-calling, shouting, interruptions, foul language, or other distracting behavior may be excluded from participation.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I now call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, will you please call roll under item 1?
Chair Finlev?
Here.
Commissioner Flores-Fang?
Here.
Commissioner Salahi?
Here.
Commissioner Sai?
Here.
Chair Finlev, with four members present and accounted for, you have a quorum.
Thank you. With that, I call agenda item number 2, general public comment. Does anyone in the room wish to make general public comment? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any remote callers, please?
Chair Finlev, we are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you. Hearing no further members of the public wishing to speak, general public comment under item 2 is now closed. I now call the consent calendar. Colleagues, as noted in the agenda, unless one of us wants to discuss an item on the consent calendar or a member of the public wants to, we will not discuss them separately.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Commissioner
I was just
Flores-Fang.
going to say there's nothing that I want to add substantively, but I did just want to offer a welcome to everybody who we recently hired, and also thank everybody whose positions have been vacated for their service to the Commission. So just want to acknowledge a welcome and a thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone in the public wish to call an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if any remote callers?
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you. I move to adopt the consent calendar. Well, I did that last part kind of clunky. I was checking if there were folks who wanted to call something aside. Will you check if there's any public comment on the on the consent calendar? Seeing none in the room, Mr. Clerk, will you check if there are any callers?
Chair Finlev, there are no callers in the queue.
Great, thank you. So with that, I move to adopt the items in the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you.
On the motion to adopt the consent calendar, Chair Finlev?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores-Fang?
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi?
Aye.
Commissioner Sai?
Aye.
Chair Fenlove, with 4 votes in the affirmative, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to save item 6, election of commission officers, until the end of the agenda. So we'll instead call item number 7, discussion and proposed possible action regarding proposed stipulation, decision, and order in the matter of labor and working families, Slate and Daniel Anderson. Mr. D'Amico.
Good morning. I have a note to congratulate the new chair, so I'll just scratch that out since we swapped the order. So this case involves respondents, Labor and Working Families Slate, which is a general purpose committee, and their consultant, Daniel Anderson. It's a case involving coordinated spending. So just as a reminder, so basically in this case, coordinated spending with the staff of the general purpose committee being their consultant and the staff of a supervisor campaign for Supervisor Dean Preston turned what was otherwise an independent expenditure into a contribution under law, and that led to violations, including a contribution over the limit and inappropriate reporting of the contribution as an expenditure. So I'm going to basically break this into 3 parts and briefly talk about the coordination, then the communication that was funded by the expenditure, and then the calculation of the benefit that went to Supervisor Preston's campaign. So just as a reminder, under law, if an independent expenditure funds a communication that benefits a candidate and it was coordinated with that candidate, then the expenditure is not independent and it should have been considered a contribution. The law has various tests. One of those tests is that if the communication was made after an agreement on timing, location, or mode of dissemination was come to between the funder of the communication and the beneficiary, then that is considered coordinated. So in this case, again, Daniel Anderson, who is a consultant for Labor and Working Families Slate, the general purpose committee, who funded this communication, he texted with a staff member of Supervisor Preston's campaign who benefited in part from the communication, and they texted about the timing, location, and mode of dissemination, agreeing on language for an invite for the event and agreeing on that the general purpose committee could put flyers and literature at the event. There was also parallel language from the 2 committees in terms of how they talked about various things. And there is also a text message that shows that the communications in this case were printed specifically for this event. So they were printed after an agreement had been made on timing, location, and mode of dissemination. So that's the coordination in this case. And then moving to the communication that it funded, the case is sort of complicated because it involves numerous campaigns. I'll try to walk through it as best as I can briefly, but it involves campaigns for both the Democratic County Central Committee in Assembly Districts 17 and 19, and the campaign for supervisor in District 5. District 5 encompasses all of Assembly Districts 17 and 19, or most of. And in this case, Bilal Mahmood was running in both Assembly District 17 for Democratic County Central Committee and in District 5 supervisor race against Supervisor Preston. So essentially in this case, the General Purpose Committee paid for flyers, which on one side had essentially the candidates for that Assembly District's Democratic County Central Committee that they supported, and on the other side, it just said, vote no on Bilal Mahmood for Democratic Party. Now, this brought a benefit to Supervisor Preston for 2 reasons. One, the side of the flyer that just said vote no on Bilal Mahmood for the Democratic Party was vague and could have been talking about his candidacy against Supervisor Preston. But 2, half of those flyers were focused on Assembly District 17, and half of them were focused on Assembly District 19. So for the ones on 19, on the opposite side, it had a list of the candidates supported by the committee running in Assembly District 19, Democratic County Central Committee. And so for those flyers, the only race that Bilal Mahmoud is running in Assembly District 19 is supervisor. He was only running for the DCCC race in Assembly District 17. So for Assembly District 19, that only could have been interpreted as talking about vote no for him in the supervisor race. So this caused a benefit to accrue to Supervisor Preston's campaign, and because the communication was made after the coordination, it should have been a contribution, at least in part. And that's where we get to the final part of this case, which is just briefly how we dealt with the calculations here. To put it, again, quickly, the respondents in this case paid $6,968 for all flyers. They coded half of that, the sides that had the candidates for DCCC, as contributions split amongst those candidates. So we're not dealing with that side. We're only dealing with the side that said vote no on Bilal Mahmoud. So half of that was coded as an independent expenditure against Bilal Mahmoud, $3,484. Half of that was dealing with Assembly District 17 and half with 19. So the half that was dealing with 19, that entire thing should have been a contribution, since there was no other way to interpret no on Bilal Mahmoud except for in the supervisor's race for that half. For the other half, we split that once again in half, because half of the benefit was against Bilal Mahmoud in his supervisor race and half in his DCCC race. So that led to a total of $2,613 of spending that benefited the Preston campaign after coordination. Obviously, the contribution limit is $500, so that was $2,113 over the limit, and that is the first violation in this case, a contribution over the limit. Second violation is just the incorrect reporting of the spending as an independent expenditure instead of a contribution. That penalty was set at 15% of the spending, which is $400 for a total of $2,513. And just, I'll wrap up by noting sort of the importance of these laws. Essentially, if Supervisor Preston was running, if any supervisor is running low on money and they want to get a certain message out, or they want to get a message out at a certain time in a certain place, they can coordinate spending with a group that then spends independently, and they have no limit on contributions they can accept and then spending that they can make. And so that's sort of an end run around a contribution limit by coordinating the spending. And so it's important that we identify instances where spending is coordinated, and it should be treated as a contribution so that the playing field is level across all candidates and everyone's abiding by the same restrictions and limitations on their fundraising and spending.
Thank you for that. I have a couple questions, but I'll see if any of my colleagues want to jump in. If not, I'll go ahead. So thank you. I think this is a really good case and important to highlight the coordination issues. I have one question about, so the last paragraph of the substance explains why there are not charges against the Preston candidate campaign, because I think as the memo articulates, the law kind of goes both ways. It prohibits excess contributions, but also making them and receiving them. So I was hoping you could kind of flesh out a little more what that last paragraph talks about. And I don't want you to go beyond what's in the public record here, but maybe you can kind of synthesize it. And the gist that I'm getting is that you all thought it was appropriate to not focus on the Preston campaign because there's no indication that his campaign knew about the substance of the coordinated communication. But I'd like you to flesh that out if you can a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's no indication that, in this case, if the respondents had shown up to this event after coordinating on the timing and mode of communication, and their spending funded a communication that very clearly opposed Bilal Mahmoud for DCCC, and it was only distributed in a way that focused on Assembly District 17 where he was running and not on the district where he was not running, and it very clearly identified what it was opposing him for, then that spending would not have benefited Supervisor Preston's campaign in any meaningful way, and there wouldn't have been any violation whatsoever. So it was the content of the communication that created the violation, not necessarily the coordination alone. And in this case, there was no indication, no evidence that we could find that the staff of Supervisor Preston had any knowledge or input into the substance of the communication.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for that. I think at the same time it highlights kind of the concerns that if campaigns are talking to other campaigns, that there may be lines you're crossing. So it's a good thing folks should be aware of. Any questions from my colleagues?
Yeah, just one quick question. I mean, I do think that the penalty appears fair, given the circumstances that you described. I'm wondering if in speaking with the respondents, they highlighted, any part of the law that they found confusing, or they kind of expressed what it was that led them astray here, or what they wish they would have seen in order to kind of avoid.
It's a good question. Also allows me to note, most of the credit in this case should go actually to our now audit manager, Eamon, who used to be an investigator with the enforcement team, and he did a lot of the investigation in this case before he changed roles. That also may be a question that he knows the answer to. They never expressed confusion around the law to me, but again, I came on later, so I don't.
Sorry, Eamon. Surprise.
Sure. So just briefly, the consultant in this case was aware of the coordination law in general. He knew the location where it's laid out, all these different factors that might lead to coordination. So it was, I think there was a bit of confusion that it wasn't only about the content of the communication itself, but also the dissemination. So that might have slipped by, but generally there was understanding that it also applied to the dissemination, and it was just, I think, an oversight. And with this case, I don't know that we've necessarily had a coordination case about dissemination where there also wasn't agreement on coordination. So with this opportunity, we can make that known to our regulated community.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Let's take thank you, Mr. D'Amico. With that, let's take public comment. Does anyone in the room, in the gallery, wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there's anyone on the line?
Chair Fenlove, there are no callers in the queue.
With that, I move to adopt staff's recommendation on item number 7.
Seconded.
With that, yeah, Clerk, at your leisure.
On the motion to adopt staff's recommendation on item number 7, Chair Fenlove,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores-Fang,
Aye.
Commissioner Salahi,
Aye.
Commissioner Sai.
Aye.
Chair Fenlove, with 4 votes in the affirmative, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you, sir. That closes item number 7. I'll now call item number 8, presentation and public hearing and possible action on Ethics Commission budget proposal for the fiscal year 2025-26 and fiscal year 26-27. Mr. Director.
Thank you, Chair Fenlove. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to boot up a slide deck for you real quickly. Great. You should be able to see that now. I think we only have this one screen in this room that faces away from you. So hopefully you can kind of see it on your small screens. If not, feel free to stop me, and I can read anything that's on the slides if you need assistance with that. So this is the Commission's second required budget hearing. You'll remember from the last meeting that City law requires each department to have 2 public hearings on its budget each year, so that there's an opportunity for the public to give input on the budget proposal, for you to have a discussion amongst yourselves, and to give me direction as to what budget we should propose that complies with the mayor's budget instructions, and perhaps what proposal we want to make that doesn't comply with those instructions. We can make that request. So this is the second opportunity to discuss that. You'll see some of the slides here are the same from the last time. I'm not going to go through them in that same level of detail since you've already heard that content, but they're here in case you want to have a discussion. We can go to that slide, look at that content. So you'll see me kind of skipping some of this, but there is some new content in here. I do have a budget proposal that I want to get your feedback on, and then I also have a budget request that I suggest we make to the mayor's office that would not involve a cut to the Ethics Commission. So I'd be eager to hear your feedback on that. I think it's always good to make both kinds of proposals to the mayor's office so that they can evaluate that. This slide just reiterates what the strategic priorities are right now for the commission. I think these are things that we've talked about together at many meetings. I think they're in alignment with our basic charter mandates. They align with our program areas and the basic programs that we do. So this will be kind of a flavor of what will go into the proposal, how we'll be portraying the work that we do at the commission. And again, this just gives a snapshot of what our current FY25 budget is, and then what our baseline would be if that were carried forward into the next 2 fiscal years. And again, you can see at the bottom that we are about 87% salary and benefits. We are primarily a organization of people. We are not an organization that engages in a lot of contracting or grant making or owns a lot of physical assets. We are a group of people doing this work. We also have the Election Campaign Fund, which is the fund that pays out grants to supervisorial and mayoral candidates that qualify for public financing under that program. That's separate from our operating budget. This is our current org chart, and this actually is different from last month because, unfortunately, we did have a staff member move on to another city department. It was a promotional opportunity for her, very happy for her, but unfortunately we do have a vacancy now. So there was one very brief moment when we had 0 vacancies, which was really exciting, and first time we'd have that, but we're back now to having a vacancy. And of course, there's a hiring freeze in the city right now that's going to prevent us from filling that. So we are going to go into this budget with a vacancy. We can talk about that in a moment, but you can see that it's under the Engagement and Compliance Division. It's one of the 1823 Senior Program Administrator positions. And to recap, these are some of the mayor's priorities that he will be trying to carry out through this budget. I believe that these are the same or very similar to what Mayor Breed had iterated while she was still the mayor. This budget process kind of will span 2 mayoral administrations. And these are the instructions that carry out those priorities. So, of course, it's a 15% cut. That's what we must propose. We have to come up with a way to meet that. We do not grant to community-based organizations, so that's not an issue for us. We have very few contracts, but we, of course, did review that and try and find savings. Like I mentioned, there is a hiring freeze, and then some other instructions that are relevant. The mayor has told departments to cut our least effective programs in order to find savings and to try to allocate resources in the most impactful and most effective programs. Also to improve operational efficiency in how we deliver services and how we report. And especially to maintain public-facing services and operations. So where possible, to reduce things that are internal to the city so that the public in San Francisco does not feel as much of a reduction in the services that they're receiving from city government. And that's very important to us. We are a very public-facing agency. We provide critical accountability and transparency and information to the public. So that's something that I've tried to do in creating this proposal, is to make sure that we are not rolling back on that core mandate that we have in any way. So this slide gets into the proposal that I would like to make to the mayor's office as to how to meet that 15% cut. That would involve a cut of $1.1 million. And like I mentioned, mostly we are a salary budget, so that cut would involve a reduction in staff. It would involve reducing our funded positions by 4, so going down from 29 to 25 positions. As I mentioned, we have a vacant position that we won't be able to fill, so I would propose that we allocate a cut there. Since that position is already vacant, it's a very important position, but at least we could minimize the impact on the staff by allocating a cut on that position. But other than that, we will have to choose 3 filled positions, which is a very difficult thing to do, but that is the position we are in. The 3 positions that I've identified are the training design specialist position within the engagement and compliance division, the personnel clerk that's within the operations division, and the 1840 policy research specialist within the policy division. I'll go into a little more detail on the next couple of slides about what the impact would be if that were to happen. But just to reiterate, that's a 14% cut to our budgeted staff. So that will mean we will have to dial back some of our work. We won't be able to keep doing everything we're doing, but we're going to try to be strategic if we have to endure that and try to keep doing as much as possible. Before I talk about the staff positions, I do want to highlight some of the non-staff cuts that we were able to find. These are things related to materials and supplies, some of the services that we contract for, our work order with the controller's office for accounting services. We can dial that back a little bit. Also, our maintenance costs with NetFile, we found some savings there. That's not enough to meet the 15%, but it at least will help. And what's most helpful is that we were able to, in discussions with the mayor's office, find a way to use some of the election campaign fund to help fund staff spending. The reason we can do that is that city law provides for 15% of that fund to be used for administration of the public financing program. And since the audits division is responsible for administering that program, we found a way to allocate some of our staff expenditures to that fund. Not a ton, but enough to reduce how much we're going to be impacted on our staffing. So that was a really good and positive development. This is what the org chart would look like. Basically, you can see the positions that are identified here, so you can see where they fall in the org chart. There would be 2 within the engagement and compliance division. One of them is vacant, one of them is not. One within the policy division, and one within operations. You can see that at the top. So to talk a bit about what the impacts would be if we were to lose those positions, I'll talk first about engagement and compliance. So, of course, this is our division that is responsible for giving guidance, delivering trainings, creating our compliance materials, answering advice questions. It's a really important function. It's how the people we regulate can get in touch with us and make sure that they know how to comply with the laws. I am foreseeing that if we were to lose both of those positions, and also in the spirit of cutting our least effective programs and trying to minimize any impacts on our public-facing services, so the service people would get if they reach out to us and ask for compliance assistance, I would want us to take a close look at the major developers program and the campaign consultants program and consider whether or not we have the capacity to continue administering those. Those are not very high-value programs in a lot of ways. The campaign consultant program provides information that largely already appears within campaigns 460 campaign statements. This is kind of an extra layer of reporting. So I think it could be a place where there's some duplicative information. We might consider whether we could save some time and money by not administering that program any further. The major developer program has to do with companies that are developing real estate projects in the city that make donations to nonprofit organizations. I can tell you that this has not been a very effective program in terms of people engaging with it and filing disclosures through it. We have a handful of disclosures that have been filed, and it's something I think we should take a close look at and see if it's worth continuing to spend staff time to administer that program.
Well, Mr. Ford, those are not the only programs that those positions are responsible for, right?
Correct. And you're raising a good point, which is it's very difficult in such a small office to point to one particular type of work that one position is responsible for and say, if we lose this position, we can't do this work, but we can still do everything else. Everybody in the office has lots of different roles. They touch many different programs. So if we were to lose any of the positions that we're talking about today, there would be a much larger reshuffling of work. Programs would have to be changed and tweaked. Everybody is basically going to have to take on some different roles. We would make it manageable, but people would have to be working more across divisions to try to get the work done. So what I'm looking at is where can we just reduce the overall level of work that right now the department is doing. Roughly dialing that back about 14%. If we're losing 14% of our staff, I'd want to look for about 14% of the work we're doing, because I will tell you everybody is very busy. There's not really a lot of places where I can just have people do more work. So that's what I'm looking at, is where can we just eliminate programs that are either not effective or not efficient, with the understanding that then we'll take these 25 positions that we still have after this budget, and we'll find ways to make that remaining workload doable. I think the staff are very ready to do that.
Is it fair to say that with respect to the first and third bullet points, the main impacted parties or communities would be city employees who have to get the guidance on how to comply with ethics regulations, and also the Board of Supervisors in the Mayor's office with respect to those custom forms?
No, I don't think so. I would really want to try to make the impact focused on these programs, particularly the major developer campaign consultant program. But yeah, I also would want to try to find other ways to save time and energy. So, for example, not supporting the customized workflow that we've created, implemented, and have continued to support and maintain for the mayor's office and for the Board of Supervisors for the last 7 years. I think that's something that those offices ought to take ownership of at this point. And if they need to establish a work order with the Department of Technology to make sure that they have the technological expertise to do that, I think that they ought to do that rather than us do that through our budget. This is separate and apart from the standard disclosure process that all the other elected officials use. I think what has been difficult for the board and mayor is that there's too much data entry involved if they were to do the forms. So we created a customized back-end software solution that they could essentially have the departments fill that information out for them. So that's just not something that we'll be able to support under a 15% cut to our budget anymore. But no, my goal would be that when people come to our website and want to find information, there would be no noticeable change in the level of information that's available. And when people call us or submit a ticket through our advice portal, or when they send an email to our main inbox, they're not going to experience any kind of decrease in service or response time or quality. I see that as a core service that we provide. I think that's what we need to prioritize and focus our energy on, not on other things that would distract us from that.
Thank you.
So I'll move on and talk a bit about policy and operations. If we were to lose the 1840 policy research specialist position, it will basically reduce the commission's ability to work through policy projects. That's a new position. You remember that we only hired for that position just about a month ago. And the purpose of that position is to help increase our capacity to study our programs, to study the laws, study what's happening in other jurisdictions, and to help us go through the policy process of refining those laws, implementing them. Losing this position would just reduce our capacity to be able to do that. For payroll, we would need to establish a work order through the city administrator's office. We do believe that that's feasible. We could do that. So that would cover that element of that position's responsibilities. And the other administrative tasks that are performed by that position would essentially have to be absorbed into other commission staff and by our DHR analyst, who's somebody that works with us through a work order that we have. We pay the Department of Human Resources for the analyst to work with us. So we would be relying on that work order, a new work order with the city administrator and our existing operations staff to absorb that. So the next slides talk about our requests that I'd like to talk about, but maybe before we move on to that, do you have any more questions or feedback about how we could meet the 15% cut, what our required proposal would be to the mayor's office?
I just had one question for you. We received a public comment from, I think, the clerk of the Board of Supervisors asking for reconsideration of that issue, and I wonder if you had any response to that.
Definitely. Yeah, I reached out to both the clerk of the board and the mayor's office to give them as much advance notice as possible that we may not be able to continue supporting this software solution for them. I wanted to let them know as early in the process as possible that may be an effect of this 15% cut to our agency. I did that because I wanted them to have the opportunity to include a request in their own budget. So if they need to establish a work order with the Department of Technology in order for them to take over and support that software product, that they would have the opportunity to do that. I thought it would not be fair for them to find out only later in the budget process when they had lost the opportunity to put that in their own budget proposal. So this is still something that may not happen. I just wanted to give them an advance heads up that it could happen so that they could plan. We could start having a conversation about it and talking about what an alternative approach might look like. We had a very productive meeting yesterday with the mayor's office, talked through what this would, how this would impact them, what exactly the difference is between the custom workflow that we built and what the standard disclosure process is that other electeds use. The mayor's office seemed to understand the issue. We talked about some possible alternatives. We have next steps planned that the mayor's office will help get us in touch with the Department of Technology to talk about whether or not they could be part of the solution to a different way to do this. So I think that was very productive.
Thank you.
Is there anything more you can ask from the mayor's office or for the Board of Supervisors in terms of technology support to make some of this more efficient and provide more resources to the government employees and officials in terms of some of the work that your office is doing?
Absolutely, and that's part of our request that we want to make that would not involve a budget cut. Some technology support is part of what we want to ask for. But
are there certain things that you think can be improved, though, or things that you've looked at that you can ask for specifically?
Yes. And also, Stephen Massey, Director of Technology Services, is here. So if we want to go deep into what that is, he's available to talk about that. And also, I should have mentioned that Deputy Director Gayatri Taikandil is not well, but she's on the line. So if we want to get into any really specific numbers, she's available too, so we can do that as well.
I think for now, just go ahead. Thanks.
Okay. So the budget request that I'm proposing that we make would not involve a cut to the Ethics Commission's budget. And why I would like to request that would be, first of all, to fill the vacant 1823 Senior Program Administrator position that was just vacated. As I mentioned, it's a very important position. It helps deliver trainings and respond to advice requests that come to our office, very core to what we do. That would be a very important position to backfill and have on our team. I would also ask the mayor's office to reclassify the Training Design Specialist position to also be an 1823 Senior Program Administrator. They're very similar in terms of the pay scale. It's an analogous classification, but the duties and responsibilities are different. So I would want to equip the Engagement and Compliance Division with as many program administrators as we could, people who can respond to advice questions, who can interpret and analyze the law, who can help people who are trying to comply with the law, as opposed to the Training and Design Specialist position has been really critical as we implement Proposition D and as we roll out the new mandatory ethics training module that now all Form 700 filers have to take. But we have that module in place now. We've done a lot of the creation of the materials. So the design role, while it has been incredibly important, I think could benefit the agency more as a program administrator moving forward. So that's something that I would like to ask the mayor to consider. I would also like to ask to retain the 1840 policy research specialist position as it is. As I mentioned, this position is very important to helping us analyze and improve the laws, also supports the advice program. So if there are questions that the Engagement and Compliance Division needs assistance on for any reason, the Policy Division is there to help back them up. So having enough staff in that Policy Division also supports Engagement and Compliance, supports our advice program as well. I would like to also make the same request that we made last year, which was to reclassify 3 of the positions within the Enforcement Division. This is something that the mayor's office agreed to in the last budget, and then the board took it back during the board's budget process. So we were close to getting this, but it ended up not happening. The board had a general policy against what they call upward substitution, reclassifying positions to a higher classification. So they rolled that back from the budget that we had approved. But I would like to ask for it again. I think it remains just as important as it was last year. This would essentially be to reclassify the 2 1823 senior investigator positions that are essentially like administrative prosecutors. I mean, you heard from Mr. D'Amico today. It would be his position, and another position that's filled by a barred attorney. These are people who lead the legal elements of our enforcement matters. They engage in settlement negotiations with respondents' councils in the political bar in San Francisco. They draft charging documents, subpoenas. They present oral arguments to you, hearing briefs to you. These are very specialized and nuanced skills that I want to make sure we're really baking into our org chart, that these are distinct from the other investigators who provide critical work in fact-finding, doing interviews, gathering documents, but that those are different types of work. Investigating versus administrative prosecution, for lack of a better word, are different. And I'd really like to bake that in because it has been so effective. And that's why, in part, why you have seen so many good cases come before you in the last couple of years. In order to do that, we would also need to reclassify the director of enforcement. Under city civil service rules, certain classifications cannot supervise other classifications. An 0922 manager 1 cannot supervise an 1824 principal investigative analyst. So we would need to reclassify that position to 0923, which I think also is appropriate given the sensitivity and expertise required for that position. Similarly, I would like to ask that the mayor's office allow us to reclassify the 1052 IS analyst position to a 1042 IS engineer. This is a position in the EDA division, or Electronic Disclosure and Data Analysis division. The reason is that the 1042 is part of the engineer series, whereas the 1052, what we have now, is an analyst series. They're similar, but they are different in the kinds of work that they do. And what we really need from this position is to provide engineering services, engineering work, to be creating things like our electronic disclosure systems, our dashboards, building custom software solutions inside the office to support automation, especially within audits. We want to automate a lot of the manual audit work to try and make it more efficient. Similarly, with enforcement, we want to automate as much as we can, reviewing voluminous disclosures or documents. And so that position could be a very critical piece to that. I see that as something that would, without adding an actual additional FTE, it would really increase our capacity and our effectiveness quite a bit. Part of this budget request would still be to not maintain the personnel clerk position, but rather to support that through a work order and to otherwise absorb the roles of that position into our DHR work order and to our operations division. That would be to realize some operational efficiency. I would also like to ask to have budget to help cover some net file licensing costs. Right now, we are essentially paying for all of the licensing for all of the city's Form 700 filers, and we're doing that through a project funded by COIT, which is the Committee on Information Technology. That's a citywide committee that essentially funds technology projects across the city. That's how we have been funding those licenses, and that is running out. That will be finishing up pretty soon, early 2026. So we need to find an alternative funding solution to that. So that's something that I would like to ask for as well. And also to support increases for our net file systems maintenance and certain other software services. And this gets to your question, Commissioner Tsai. Stephen could talk in more detail if you want to, but there are some particular products that if we were able to get funding for and we could procure them, it would really give us the platform we need to explore more automation, more use of advanced technology to make our operations more effective and efficient.
How much are those licensing costs right now?
Stephen would have to answer that question.
I assume it's quite a bit.
Yeah, Stephen, do you want to talk about that?
Gayatri here. If needed, I can also jump in.
Oh, or Gayatri, sure. Go for it, Gayatri.
Hello, Commissioner. Are you asking specifically about the Form 700 licenses or just our software licenses in general?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, so the Form 700 licenses that support about 6,000 or so city employees and officials is currently funded by COIT project, which is what Director Ford was talking about. So we are estimating roughly about 10,000 or so in the first year that will need to be funded in FY26. That's because we have some partial funding left in that project. But the following year in FY27, we'll have to fund that fully and then also moving forward. That's around the time when the NetFile contract will also need to be renewed. So we only have an estimate. So we're currently estimating about 65,000, but it will also depend on the renewed contract negotiations. Separately, we're also asking for increasing license costs that we fund on our own. These are tools that we use to support our office operations. We also use Microsoft products, Adobe products that support our email services and other communication tools that Department of Technology supports. So we have certain costs related to that as well. So that's roughly in the first year about 12,000 or so for those costs together. And in year two, it's something similar. So year two, slightly lesser in year two, about 9,000. So those are the software requests in our budget proposal.
Great, thank you.
Director Ford, I have a kind of broader question. So the second proposed budget with the reclassifications, I think it all makes a ton of sense to me, and I supported them, I think, a year ago when we did it the first time around. But would that in fact increase the budget since you're upgrading some classifications?
So this is what the budget totals would look like under the request. It would essentially keep us flat in the first year of this 2-year budget, and there would be about a 0.5% increase in the second year. So it wouldn't increase our budget, but it would keep us flat. But there is a cost associated with it. Yes, that's why it would be an ask to actually fund us by keeping us the same.
Right, and I think the asks make 100% sense. This is the climate we're in. So is your idea to kind of present both budgets to the mayor's office, one with cuts, one the second one that we just discussed?
Exactly. We actually have to input the 15% cut scenario into the city's financial system. So we would have to key in numbers that add up to a 15% cut. There's actually a dollar number. That's that $1.1 million number. So we have to input that. We don't have the opportunity to input the request, but that's something that we would express to them through the budget memo. So the memo lays out very similar to how this slide deck is organized. First, it would be, here's what the 15% cut scenario is, here's what the impacts are, why we think that's bad. And then the second half is, alternatively, here's what we would ask that you do. And then there's typically a negotiation process where we meet with our budget analysts, we'll meet with the mayor's budget director, we'll talk about the impacts of the 15% cut, we'll talk about the opportunities and the costs associated with keeping us flat. And hopefully we trend towards the request, but that's a negotiated process. And then that's not even the end of it. The mayor's proposal is only a proposal. The board ultimately approves the budget, and as we saw last year, they will make changes to it if they would like to.
Got it. Thank you. No more questions for me. You can proceed.
Okay. So this is something that I'll be working on over the next couple of weeks with Deputy Director Taekon Deal. We'll be preparing that memo to go to the mayor's office, and we'll be entering the submission into the system. So that's due, I think we've got a slide right here with the deadlines. So if you have any further ideas or you want to talk in greater depth about any particular part of this, we do still have a couple of weeks. That's in part why we changed the date, and thank you again for your flexibility. We changed the date of the meeting from the second Friday to the first Friday so that we could have this conversation, and then perhaps you might digest this information and have further thoughts you wanted to share, and we could continue to talk. So that opportunity is still there. This is our required second public hearing. It's not your last chance to be involved in this process and to work with us. So I just wanted to put that out there.
These are really hard questions, but the way you're analyzing it and laying it out makes a lot of sense to me, so thanks for doing that work. Any other comments? Does that conclude your presentation?
It does. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I think even though it's not an action item, we have to take public comment.
Correct.
Anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Sir, thank you.
I have a copy of the letter. The board.
Welcome.
Good morning, Chair, Honorable Commissioners of the Ethics Commission. I'm Edward Diazis. I am the Deputy Director of Administration of Finance for the Office of the Clerk of the Board of Supervisors, and I am speaking on behalf of the Office of the Clerk of the Board, as well as Madam Clerk Angela Calvillo. I just passed out a copy of the letter that was submitted by the Clerk of the Board yesterday, in case you need a copy for your review at the meeting today. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Clerk of the Board and urge you to continue maintenance of the current 126 form process and DocuSign. As the letter spells out, both Ethics Commission as well as the Office of the Clerk of the Board have worked on this system since 2018. We really do appreciate that work that Stephen Massey and the Ethics Commission has done, accommodating some of the business processes and the input from our office. Really am here to urge you to continue maintenance of Form 126 and to continue responsibility over it for a couple of reasons. As you are all familiar with the Form 126, there's a lot of data that is known only to departments, not to the mayor's office, not to the Board of Supervisors, including the nature of the contract amount, the Board of Directors. So there needs to be a system, an online system available for departments to enter that data for the Office of the Clerk of the Board, for the Board of Supervisors, as well as the mayor's office. And as you know, that data helps to meet the public's right to know. It's an important disclosure that the public needs to know, so it promotes open and transparent government. That alone is the reason why the system needs to be maintained by the Ethics Commission. The second reason is that the proposed discontinuance of that system actually will not save any budget for the city. So realize that the 15% general fund cuts that's been asked for of the departments are citywide cuts. They're not just cuts to a single department. So whatever cut or savings that the Ethics Commission may realize is actually going to move over to other departments, mainly DT, who may need to hire another IT specialist to maintain this system. And obviously, the board and the mayor are going to be paying for this. So basically, there will be no cuts or savings to the general fund from this particular proposed change. Secondly, this change is going to inconvenience both the mayor and the board of supervisors, as they will have to collect that data on behalf of the Ethics Commission. So there will be costs in terms of overtime, as well as additional personnel, additional workload for the staffs of those two departments. So I'm here to urge in summary that the Ethics Commission continue to maintain the system on behalf of the city, on behalf of the mayor, and on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. I am available for any questions, if there are any.
Thank you. We don't generally, I think, respond to public comment, but I'm happy to entertain questions if any of my colleagues have them.
I have a question for Director Ford, if that's okay, related to this, just a clarifying question. Is it right that the proposed halting of that program is only if our budget is cut by 15%?
Correct. If we were to lose the staff positions, we would have to dial back a number of things and reassign work throughout the office, so we would not have the capacity to support that anymore. And to be clear, also, it's supporting the disclosure requirement that the code imposes on the board and on the mayor. This is not the Ethics Commission's disclosure requirement. So those offices would be gathering the data for their own disclosure requirement, not on behalf of the Ethics Commission. It's something we've been assisting them complying with their requirement.
And if the Mayor's Office and the Board of Supervisors approve the larger budget proposal that you will present as an alternative, would the Commission continue to service that program?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, sir.
If I may also add, also spelled out in the letter, the last paragraph, I mean, there is a potential change to the current system that could result in more efficiencies and more cost savings. Under the current process, a single Form 126 has to be submitted by both the mayor and the board, which results in 2 submissions. So we propose that the current process be reworked to have the department submit the singular form to the board, and then it goes to the mayor for approval. That could potentially reduce workloads for both the Ethics Commission, Board of Supervisors, Mayor's Office, as well as achieve some savings.
Thank you. Yeah, we saw that in the letter. I think it'll be added to the agenda, so it'll be part of the public record. Thank you, sir. That's it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Does anyone else in the gallery wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Fenlove, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you for that. Seeing no more callers, item number 8 is now closed. And I'll call item number 9, recognition of Chair Tice Fenlove upon the end of his service on the Ethics Commission. So that, oh, Mr. Ford is standing up. I was going to start talking. Well, I was actually going to flip it around, but I guess I would until you've had your time.
I had to twist Tice's arm to let him put this item on the agenda. So thank you for your cooperation, Chair Fenlove. We're very sad that you are not going to be with us anymore. And whenever any commissioner, but especially a chair, leaves the commission, it's very important to stop and recognize the work that that person's done. This is community service. You guys don't have to be here. You're not getting compensated like the staff are. You are volunteering. You're serving the city that you live in and that you love. And it's a tough job. It's a thankless job a lot of the time. These are hard decisions, critical decisions. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you for your years of service. It's been a real pleasure to work with you. I think I speak for all the staff. We've learned a lot from you, and you've had an incredible impact in your time here that you should be very proud of. In particular, wanted to note a few projects that, as we were talking in the office about, what's the Tice legacy, what is Tice leaving behind. The things that came to mind are Prop D. That was a major project that you were very heavily involved in. It's one of the most popular ballot measures the city's had, the single most approved, highly approved ballot measure in 30 years. So I think you were really tapping into something the public cared deeply about with that ballot measure. You were also the chair presiding over the first hearing on the merits enforcement hearing that the commission did in 10 years. That hearing was very smooth. It went well. So I think that spoke to good competency with the gavel and working with the staff in advance on that enforcement hearing guidebook. We now have that document that will last into the future to help guide future enforcement actions. You brought great insight as a former assistant district attorney, and also from the enforcement work that you do at the SEC. You were just meeting this week with staff with the enforcement staff to help them, still here in your last week, think about how to deepen the impact of enforcement. So I think that program in particular really benefited from you. We've had very quick, efficient, orderly commission meetings. We've trimmed down the time. These things run like a Swiss watch, and I think everybody appreciates that very much. And the last thing I'll mention is when you were chair, the commission approved the e-filing regs, and that allowed the staff to require e-filing for the final paper forms, and we have now completed a 20-year project of converting all of the commission's disclosures to electronic filing. 100% electronic filing, no paper, never again, ever, not one paper. That's a huge milestone. We thank you for your leadership on that, and we're very happy to be able to deliver that result during your tenure. And that's definitely something we're all very happy about. So again, thank you so much. We'll hope that you'll keep in touch. Wish you the best on what comes next for you in this next chapter, and don't be a stranger.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words. You should have framed the very last paper filing that came in. I don't know if it's public, but thank you for that, Director Ford. I did want to say a couple of things. Even though it's recognition of me, I really want to recognize the staff, because I think the things you just gave me credit for, Pat, are really, frankly, we just sit here and kind of go with, we assess, we analyze, we review, we oversee, but the staff does all the work. I've been in public service for most of my adult life, whether that's for the government or for nonprofits. And I think really there's no higher calling, and that's the same for commissioners who are sitting next to me. It's a little awkward positioning right here because this podium's right in my way. But as the staff we share in the room, I really, really want to know that I appreciate what you do, we all do, but I get to speak now. As a public servant right now, it's kind of a hard time to be in public service. I think we feel it a little bit differently here in San Francisco. I work in the federal government. It's not a great time, and I think keeping your head down and doing the work is so important. So as a San Francisco resident, I really want to appreciate the work that you all do, because we all benefit from it. You don't all get thanked, at least not in person, I imagine, from the work that you do. But it's so crucial, and we all depend on it. We all rely on it. So thank you for that, and thank you to my fellow commissioners who are really, really busy in our own lives, taking the extra time to give back to the community by showing up here and doing what we can do to help advance the work that you all do. It's really gratifying. It's been great to be a part of it. So thank you all, and I know the commission is in good hands with the new director, the new commission we've got currently. So that's it. Thank you. And with that, well, even though I say I'd be shocked if there's any public comment, but I think we have to take it because it's on the calendar. Is that right? So, okay. Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check the phones, please?
Chair Finlove, there are no callers in the queue.
All right, thank you.
Well, I think your fellow commissioners also, if they want to say something, I think just to
Okay.
take a quick second.
You're going to break my time record.
I know. I think today would be the day. I think I speak for all of us when I say that we're honored and privileged to be in this position and to serve the San Franciscans in this way. But I think it's always a special treat when you get to serve alongside people who you can learn from, who are innovative, who are committed and very focused, like you. And so it's been a pleasure and an honor to work alongside you, and hopefully our orbits overlap soon. But that's very quick. That's all I was going to say. That's it. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you.
I just wanted to echo that and express my gratitude for your guidance to me as a new commissioner when I joined the commission. Really appreciated the expertise that you brought to the table in campaign finance regulations and enforcement of ethics rules generally, and the inclusive manner in which you ran, and efficient manner in which you ran all these meetings. So thank you. You're going to be sorely missed.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd also like to echo that too. Thank you so much for your service and for teaching us and guiding us in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. With that, I close item 9. I now call item 6, election of commission officers for the 2025 the Ethics Commission bylaws. Director Ford, would you mind just briefly summarizing how we've done this in the past? You probably didn't expect that, but I think you can probably do it with your...
That's fine. So typically the way that it's worked is commissioners can nominate each other. They can nominate themselves. If a commissioner nominates another commissioner, the nominated commissioner should say if they want to accept that or not. And I know in speaking with you that you thought it would be helpful if a commissioner wants to accept a nomination, perhaps they could speak a bit about what their priorities or their approach might be. If the commission wanted to have some kind of conversation around it. In the past, there hasn't been a ton of conversation about it. So if the commission wanted to have that, that would help. The nominated commissioner perhaps could initiate that. And then each commissioner votes, and you say the name of the commissioner that you want. And I think we would just have Kevin call a roll call vote, and each commissioner would state the name of the commissioner they want to vote for. We do chair first, vice chair second, and basically as soon as one commissioner has 3 or more votes, then that's it. That commissioner wins.
Great. And I think from memory, we complete the chair election in its entirety before we move on to the vice chair. We don't take nominations for both at the same time.
That's right, yeah.
Great.
Yes. Kathy just reminded me. Public comment before taking that roll call vote, of course.
So after the nomination, but before the vote?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, great. Well, as one of my last official acts, it gives me great pleasure to nominate Vice Chair Flores Fang as chair. I think anyone who's paid attention to our meetings will speak for itself, but I think her wise engagement with staff and with the issues just show what kind of chair she'll be. So I hope that she will accept the nomination. And if you want to say a few words, go for it, but no pressure.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. I do accept. I'll start with that. And I mean, I don't have a list of priorities right now. I'll say that this is going to be my 3rd year on the commission, and I've learned a lot, and I think that a lot has changed. And so I'd be happy to engage in a larger discussion about, this is very helpful discussing the budget. I think that you've presented materials that I think help orient me if I were to create some sort of agenda for moving forward, but I'm happy to engage in a longer discussion and not kind of confine myself to a list that I create today on the spot.
Great. So now we take public comment, if I'm right.
Do I have to nominate myself? I don't. Thank you. Okay.
Seeing no other nominations, is there anyone in the room who'd like to make public comment on this nomination? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check with any callers?
Chair Fenlove, there are no callers in the queue.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, at your convenience, you can take roll.
It's fine. I can do it. I mean, you want it? Yeah, I don't care. Commissioners, as I call your name, please vote by stating the name of the individual for whom you cast your vote to serve as chair of the Ethics Commission for the coming year beginning March 1st. Chair Fenlove?
Vice Chair Flores Fang.
Vice Chair Flores Fang?
Vice Chair Flores Fang.
Commissioner Salahi?
Vice Chair Flores Fang.
Commissioner Sai?
Vice Chair Flores Fang.
Chair, by a vote of 4-0, the commission has elected Commissioner Flores Fang to serve as chair for a 1-year term beginning March 1st, 2025. Congratulations, Vice Chair Flores Fang.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Congratulations I'll now open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Salahi as vice chair.
Second that.
Third.
Thank you all. I accept the nomination, and my priority will primarily be to support the new chair in setting her agenda and supporting her agenda moving forward while working with Director Ford and other commission staff.
Great, and I guess we have to take public comment on this as well. So does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Fenlove, there are no callers in the queue.
Great, Mr. Clerk, you can take the vote at your convenience.
Commissioners, as I call your name, please vote by stating the name of the individual for whom you cast your vote to serve as vice chair of the Ethics Commission for the coming year beginning March 1st. Chair Fenlove,
Commissioner Salahi.
Vice Chair Flores-Fang,
Commissioner Salahi.
Commissioner Salahi,
Commissioner Salahi.
Commissioner Sai.
Commissioner Sly.
Chair, by a vote of 4-0, the commission has elected Commissioner Salahi to serve as vice chair for a one-year term beginning March 1st, 2025. Congratulations, Commissioner Salahi.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I think we've never had a not unanimous vote in my tenure on elections.
Should have added that to the list, Pat.
So I think that closes item 6. And I'll call item number 10, items for future meetings. Any of my colleagues?
Yeah, I have an issue to raise. It may not necessarily need to go on an agenda, but I wanted to disclose that I received a phone call from Supervisor Connie Chan earlier this week. The Board of Supervisors is the appointing authority for my position. And she had asked whether the commission has any guidance or view on how the Board of Supervisors exercises their authority under subsection 3.620 F of the government code, campaign government code, with respect to when waivers for the behested payments prohibition is granted. So I just wanted to flag that that might be something that is worth engaging with members of the Board of Supervisors as well as other interested stakeholders on as to whether that would be useful for the public and for the board.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to engage with Supervisor Chan or anybody else at the board, also with the mayor's office or any other electeds that may seek that kind of waiver. Definitely be always happy to help inform any processes that are touching the Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, does anyone in the gallery wish to make public comment on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check if there are any callers?
Chair Fenlove, there are no callers in the queue.
Item 10 is closed. Item 11 is additional opportunity for general public comment. Does anyone in the room wish to make public comment on item 11? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you check the phones?
Chair Fenlove, there are no callers in the queue.
Item 11 is now closed. Item 12, adjournment, and thank you. We're done.